right, back with the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out. Let's talk now with Shannon Adcock from Awake, Illinois, a parents' rights group. You can find more about them at awakeil.com. Shannon, thanks for taking time with us on the WMAY morning news feed. And just to get right into it here, you guys have been pretty active in the past few months this year, really hammering on a variety of things that parents are raising, concerns with their kids' education. What are you hearing primarily from parents, especially as we head into fall veto session here, starting tomorrow at the Illinois State House? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Greg, for having Awake Illinois on this morning. So paying attention to a couple of things. Obviously, the Healthcare Right of Conscience Act is something that has been largely discussed by parents and most recently by educators who are wanting autonomy over their healthcare decisions in order for them to be, teaching our kids. And so that is something that we are definitely paying attention to in terms of session reconvening. We have reached out to every representative this past week asking that they continue supporting this act and that they not amend it regardless of any gubernatorial pressure by Governor Pritzker. Only heard back from a couple people, but we're definitely keeping an eye on that. And we're still keeping an eye on House Bill 4135, which was referred to Rules Committee on September 3rd, which would amend the school code and, allow the State Board of Education to revoke recognition status for schools based on public health requirements.
So these are just a couple of the major issues that could pop up here for fall veto session. And what are you hearing back from lawmakers that you personally are talking with when it comes to the HCRCA or when it comes to ISB's authority to be able to punish schools for not following things like mask mandates?
Right. So we're not hearing a lot. And it would be great if the legislature would step up. Hopefully, by reconvening, they will actually begin to speak out against this imbalance of our government. Charlie Meyer did reach out and respond and said that, he's fully in support of the act and will vote no to change it if it comes up. So certainly some legislators are aware that this could happen and at least he's transparent in saying, he'll keep the protections in place or vote to. But it's funny because the Illinois State Board of Education and JCAR and Springfield all reconvene on the same day. And the Illinois State Board of Education meeting is actually going to be in Macomb, Illinois, not in Springfield, where the legislators will be. So I do know that there are some advocate groups that are planning to attend the Illinois State Board of Education and still keep the pressure on them to, stop with the pressuring of our local school districts and let them have autonomy as a locally elected body listening to their communities.
We're talking with Shannon Adcock. She is the founder of Awake, Illinois. You can find them online at awakeil.com. It's not just parents, I'm sure, that you hear from. We see, for instance, here in Springfield at District 186, a couple of teachers who aren't teaching anymore because they're not complying with vaccine mandates or regular testing for COVID-19. What are you hearing from teachers who reach out to your organization?
Right. The teachers are devastated. I have close friends who are now not allowed back onto their district property because they have refused to get vaccinated, and they're also refusing the testing. So it's devastating to these educators. They want to be in the classroom with their kids, and this government overreach is affecting so many different people. And we even have reached out to the University of Illinois, for example. It's not just educators. They have a variety of staff, for example, buildings and ground staff, who have been testing from day one. They were sort of the guinea pigs for this shield testing. And they were being told that they would have to vaccinate, last month. And so we actually did reach out to the Board of Trustees and to their ethics committee. And Awake Illinois put forth a letter that said, hey, they've been allowed to test from day one. You guys need your buildings and grounds people. Please back off. I mean, in obviously more eloquent terms than that. But, I think that this has just reached such different levels of our state. And I do think, Greg, I hate to say it, but I do think that so much of this, the hill we should have really met on was months and months and months ago when these policies were keeping our kids out of schools, forcibly masking them, and now it has reached to the grown-ups, right? It's reached to educators. It's reached to our police officers. It's reached to the buildings and grounds of the University of Illinois. So we're having to backtrack and put pressure on legislators. It should have happened months ago, better late than never. But here we are. It's reality.
We do see, court cases across the state, and the governor responding to some of the actions that some courts have taken, and saying that it's irresponsible, I think, to paraphrase some of his response. Isn't this the proper venue, though? If the legislature's not going to act on something, or if a school board goes beyond what the parents or the teachers may believe is their authority, aren't the courts where this should be hashed out?
That's where we are now, and that's what it's going to take. It really is, because so much of this has to come down to constitutional rights and protections of the constituency and the actual law as to what government can and cannot do. So you're absolutely right. And when the governor says that, there's irresponsibility at play, take a look in the mirror, Governor. What he has done to this state is unacceptable. People are trying to get back post-pandemic. There's no more emergency. Time to get our state back on track, and he refuses. The special interests, the money that's lining pockets of certain people, it's disgusting. And we see through it, and that's the thing. They continue to double down and spin this really negative narrative against the constituency. We're not idiots. We know exactly what's up. And so, yes, time has come to put pressure on our legislators still. Pay attention to who's going to be running from the state legislature in the midterms. And absolutely take it to court. And it's going to be happening. People need to pay attention to the news cycle in the coming days. There are definitely people who are done and fully ready to take it to the court.
Well, we've seen a lot of other court cases already brought forward with varying degrees of outcomes, and those cases continue. So it's fascinating to see all that play out. Shannon Adcock with Awake Illinois with us on the WMAY morning news feed at 7:48. One final thing here, and you talked about the money side of this. And we've seen some parents connect those dots. And we've seen those dots connect to requirements for people to follow certain COVID-19 mitigation in order to access millions and millions of dollars for various school districts, let alone the billions of dollars for public and even private education across the state. How much have you guys looked into this, and what are your concerns here?
The concerns are valid, and it's a huge rabbit hole of mystery, of silence on the part of various school districts as to where that money is going. When you look at a state that is riddled with debt, particularly pension debt, there are a lot of concerns that this is going into the wrong place. It's not going, for example, in the school districts to your kids. It's not going to your teachers. It's not going to the classroom. And somebody made a great point in a conversation I had last night with some national advocates. Ask as parents, ask your school districts, how much money is going into, for example, literacy in the district, into recovering from the education losses of the pandemic year? Ask them, have that discussion, and keep the pressure up at your school boards, because the money, in millions and millions of dollars, people do not have a grasp as to where it has gone. Those questions are very serious and definitely need to be asked.
Shannon Adcock, Awake Illinois. Again, the website is awakeil.com. Greatly appreciate you taking time with us on this Monday morning, and we'll definitely talk again in the near future, all right?
My pleasure. Thank you, Greg. Take care.
You too. It is the WMAY morning news feed.